Apple announcing it's investing $500 billion in the U.S. over the next 4 years, much to the delight of President Trump, who thanked the company and CEO Tim Cook this morning on Truth Social. The announcement coming as big tech continues navigating through Trump's ongoing trade wars. And for more, we're bringing in now Niki Christoff and company CEO. Niki, it is good to see you. So Apple certainly making big news today, Niki, $500 billion here in the U.S. over the next 4 years, 20,000 workers producing AI servers here. One question I would have, Niki, as an Apple investor, I guess I'd want to know, did Tim Cook and company, did they do enough here to kind of satisfy Trump, make the president happy enough so that if there is need for it, Niki, Trump could now say, you know what, Apple, you've done enough. You have earned that special tariff carve-out, that tariff exemption. As remember, of course, Apple did, I believe, back in 2018. What do you think, Niki?
Well, that's exactly right. They did get an exemption from Chinese tariffs during the first Trump administration. Whether or not they did enough, I'm going to say probably not. What they did deliver, what Tim Cook delivered for Donald Trump, was a great headline: $500 billion in investment in the United States, 20,000 jobs. That's not nothing. But not only do we have to think about the Chinese tariffs, which he's promised, but also India tariffs. There are an awful lot of iPhones made in India, and we still don't know yet what those are going to look like. So I would be very surprised if this gets them to get out of jail free cards.
So what do you think would rise to that level, right? We've had a handful of these announcements thus far about investments in the U.S. Some of them are sort of repackaged of existing stuff that the companies are planning on doing. Some of it, you got a little new investment mixed in. What do you think would earn the carve out from Apple or from other companies who are trying to get it?
Okay, well, if I knew that, I might be on Apple's board, but I do have an idea of something that they could do. I think that what Donald Trump likes is to deliver on campaign promises, and he has promised to bring manufacturing jobs back to the U.S. He's been promising that for a decade. We have not seen a lot of success on that. They are talking about working with their existing suppliers in a lot of red states, including Arizona, Michigan, Texas, to start manufacturing there. If they can actually put people into manufacturing jobs, I think that is going to go a long way with the president. The second thing is if they can shift from nearshoring, there was a lot of talk about building things potentially in Mexico, and make it clear that they've changed from even considering that to moving fully to the United States. I think those are two more things they can do to get goodwill with the president.
I wonder, Niki, if Trump, he's hanging out there in Mar-a-Lago with another CEO, and he could say now, listen, Tim Cook, he just announced $500 billion he's going to spend and invest here in the U.S. over the next 4 years. I wonder, do you think it could be used by Trump as kind of leverage when he's talking to other execs?
Absolutely. This administration loves to line everybody up and make them agree to different things. We just saw Microsoft, as an investor in OpenAI and part of the Stargate alliance, agree to a similarly sized investment in the United States. There's only so many companies that can go that far. But, Tim Cook and Apple are at the very front edge of this, of making commitments and giving good headlines. And the president wants to move fast on the things that he has promised. And that is America first, including having American companies make things here. So I am certain that that is a point of leverage with other conversations.
Niki, this Trump term feels very different from the last Trump term in a number of different ways. And one of them is that companies seem more willing to work with the president. Is that defensive? Is that offensive? What do you think is driving it? And what, are we seeing a disconnect? I mean, you talk to these companies. Are we seeing any kind of disconnect between these public-facing announcements and what they're saying behind closed doors?
This is a great question, and I don't think that you can lump all of the CEOs and the companies and executives together. You have people who appear to be more ideologically aligned with where President Trump and this administration is. I'd cite Mark Zuckerberg of Meta. And then you have people who are pure businessmen, right? Like the Jeff Bezoses of the world, who really doesn't need very much from this administration. And so you have a spectrum where I'm not sure their ideology matches with their business imperatives, but all of them have businesses to run. I think the difference, to your point, is that in the first administration, things were extremely chaotic. They moved much more herky-jerky throughout these first 100 days. That is not the case. They are moving at pace. They have an overwhelming majority in both Congress and in the election results. And so there appears to be a mandate. The president is moving fast, and they are jumping as required, and that is part of their jobs. How they feel ideologically, I'd say it's people have described Tim Cook as 10% political and 90% business person, and I think that's right.
Do you think, Niki, Trump, he may talk tough, but do you think he would ever actually do anything to really go after big American tech, to jeopardize American tech in any meaningful way? Because if he did that, Niki, he of course knows he might, jeopardize the stock market. And this president watches the market very carefully. He uses the stock market as a kind of report card on the administration's success or failure.
Well, one definite boon to the technology industry with this administration is you have already the vice president going overseas to Europe and saying, you guys have been a drag on our companies. The prior administration was brutal when it came to competition with big tech. I think we still might see some of that, but at the end of the day, President Trump sees himself as a business person and he loves business success. So no, I don't think he's actually going to kneecap American tech companies, but he does want them to show up and show some deference and give him some good headlines, which again, Apple has done this week.
It sure did. Niki, great to see you as always. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to see you. Thank you.